All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us once again for today's webinar series, which is part of the annual celebration of the Cybersecurity Awareness Month, an internationally recognized campaign held each year to educate the public on being vigilant about security. In our increasingly interconnected world, we face even more complex threat landscape. Most security risks don't end at a property line or at the border of a country. Bert is a program manager at the Netherlands Security Cluster HSD, the largest security ecosystem in Europe. He brings together businesses, governments, and academia to come to effective security solutions through collaboration. Public, private, people, process technology within supply chains, national and international. Bert has also led the establishment of Netherlands Cyber Resilience Center for the horticulture and agriculture sector, one of the largest economic sectors in the Netherlands. His presentation today will focus on cybersecurity in the agriculture supply chain systems. Bert, thank you for joining. The floor is yours, please.
Thank you, and thanks for having me. So I'll quickly share my presentation. And so I want to start with looking towards the past, and this is a photo of Canadian soldiers liberating the Netherlands. And I think it also shows, of course, the connection between our two countries. The Canadian soldiers who liberated the Netherlands are, of course, annually remembered here in the Netherlands. And it also shows that we cannot take our security for granted, and especially if you look at the current situation in Europe, I think it's a relevant photo. At the same time, when the Netherlands was occupied by Nazi Germany, the Dutch royal family resided in Canada. Actually, Queen Juliana, she was there with her family, and when they went back to the Netherlands after the liberation, they sent out 100,000 tulip bulbs to Canada as a small token of appreciation. And I think until this day in Canada, in Ottawa, the Canadian Tulip Festival is being held, which is, I believe, the largest display of tulips worldwide. A lot of those tulip bulbs come from the Netherlands. And you may wonder why I'm talking about tulips, but tulips and the horticulture sector in the Netherlands is one of the largest economic sectors that we have in the Netherlands. And because of the soil here, it's a very good environment to grow and to have this horticulture. But as you can see on this photo, it's of an enormous scale. So this is one of our key economic regions economic sectors that we have in the Netherlands. And it also comes with some possibilities for us also, because I work for the Dutch security sector. And what we do is we try to reach out to other sectors as well to help them raise their cyber resilience level. We think it's important to also share our knowledge and expertise to other sectors. So that is why last year I, together with several colleagues, started with setting up a cyber resilience center for the horticulture sector, which basically is a center more in the form of a program rather than in the form of a building, to help all the thousands of companies in the Dutch horticulture sector improve their cyber resilience, their cybersecurity level, and it is necessary. And what I would like to do today is also share some of the best practices, some pointers behind our approach with you, because I think it's important to learn with and from each other. So we do that we have been doing that in the last year in setting up this center, which opened 2 weeks ago, but it's also important to do that internationally. And of course, I understand that Canada is a different country than the Netherlands and then any other country. But it's always good to learn from each other and to also share these best practices. And maybe it's not a direct copy paste. It can often be a copy, adjust to the situation, based. So that is what my aim is for today's presentation. I want to share 3 lessons with you, and I also explain you a bit more what is behind this center. So how have we set this up? And the first thing, of course, is good to mention is that we've been setting this up with 10 other organizations, and I've been setting this up with 10 other organizations. These are key organizations in the Dutch horticulture sector. These are within their supply chain, they play a key role, and in such a way that they can also have a coordinating role within their supply chain. For example, the marketplace where the horticultural goods are being sold, but also the main insurer, some of the main technology providers in the sectors we have on board. So these are all organizations within the supply chain that can actually make a true difference and also make a true change in their supply chain. So that is what we've done as a first step. We've grouped together. And that has been a process, so that doesn't happen from one day on the other. But we've been able to manage to get them all together with us from the security sector, to set up the center. And the first lesson there is, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And that is, of course, a saying that is applicable to many, many things, but also here. It's been very, very important for us to do this together. Otherwise, you end up in often very, very in small activities, often just ad hoc activities, which are often when meant in a very positive way, but often the actual outcome of those activities is slim to no effect when you look at it on a true scale within a sector. So that is why we've said we need to team up. We need to do this in a more of a program approach instead of an ad hoc approach. So just to give you a bit of insight in what is behind the Cyber Resilience Center, and again, this is just a set of services that we are now actually providing towards companies in the horticulture sector. What we're doing is, first of all, providing them with a baseline measurement. So what we do is we have a team of cybersecurity experts employed by the center, and what we're doing there is every participant from every horticulture organization, every farmer comes in, and they receive a baseline measurement. So what is the current status of their cybersecurity within their organization? What we often see is that it's relatively low. So the majority of the organizations that we see, the level is low. And so there's a lot to do. So we also don't approach them in a negative way, of course, always in a positive, supportive way. Hey, like you are here on this level, we're going to help you reach to grow your cyber resilience there. What we're also doing is we're actively hosting workshops and also Q&A sessions. So we do that on a very regular basis, because personal contact within this setting is very important. For many of these companies, cybersecurity is very far from their core business. It's a very, of course, almost a black box that they are looking at, and it's very good then to really take them by the hand, and that they're actually seeing the people behind it that they're going to help them. It's very important aspect of how we've organized things in a very, I think, a very effective way. We also, they get to meet the cybersecurity experts. We take them by the hand on a regular basis, but they can also throughout the week send out questions. They have two opportunities of doing this. First of all, they can send them directly to the experts, but they can also send their questions through our community signal group, because in many cases, an issue that one company is facing probably is very much relevant also for many of the other companies as well. So it's good to share, and it's also good to share also amongst themselves best practices with that. And what we then do is, if we see, well, a very specific topic is we need more attention towards that, so then we organize a more in-depth workshop. So we pick and choose those, like together with our participants. But that's for us, that's a great way of setting up a programming to together, again, learning with and from each other, together get to a higher cyber resilience level. Second lesson that we learned is that cybersecurity is not only IT. And this is probably by far the most, what we most often hear when we approach companies with the question of, are you how cyber secure are you? And they often say, well, yeah, it's all been taken care of, like my IT provider does it. And then, of course, like, and I think most of the people in this call or have a cybersecurity background. Then you forget completely about the human factor and also the processes within an organization, which are just as important. They often don't see themselves that from a people's perspective, like, yeah, you can just have the best possible cybersecurity measures in place, technical measures, but if you have people that are bringing a USB stick within the organization or are clicking on a phishing link or whatever, yeah, then it's very difficult to set up an effective defense and also to an effective cybersecurity measures. So there it's very important to also very much from the start take into account the human factor, but also how do you arrange cybersecurity within your organizations? It's also an organizational question. So what we do is from the Cyber Resilience Center, what we offer organizations is first of all a toolbox. There's a lot of material, and I'm sure it's the same in Canada, a lot of checklists, tools, manuals are already available. And what we did is we got them all together and made an overview of them. And so like, these are the key ones that we need. So we put them all on one pile and also made a structures them in the different steps that how we approach cybersecurity, and also have these available for our participants. And it really helps because then they don't have to figure everything out from scratch. They have an example, they have a checklist, they have like more background information. So for us, and that's not only on the technical side, but it's also how do you arrange cybersecurity within your organization? How do you set up an effective awareness campaign within your organization, for example? Those low-key, it all is very low-key, but like that is exactly the level that is necessary here. That is how we've set up this toolbox. Second one is that we also focus on raising awareness within the sector as a whole. So a lot of companies that don't have an understanding of cybersecurity and implications don't want to become part of the Cyber Resilience Center. It's difficult. It's very far away from them. So the first step for us is to raise awareness. And that is what we do. But what we do there is the approach that we've chosen is that we have these cyber cafes organized by the 10 organizations that I showed at the start. So these key organizations within their supply chain host these awareness sessions. It's if I, from the security sector, say to a company in the horticulture sector, well, you need to become more cyber resilient, then they are not gonna accept this as if one of their colleagues is telling them. And that is the difference there. So we actively also utilize the role of these larger organizations in their supply chains, also in raising awareness. So we, from the Cyber Resilience Center, also provide the materials for it. We sometimes also provide the speakers for it, but that is the way we've approached it. It's a great collaboration between our organizations. The third lesson that we've learned is that digitalization must be secure, otherwise the risks will become too high. And that is what I also showed at the start, like these glass houses, these greenhouses are immense. These are many, beside, like next to each other. And you see a small glimpse of it, like on the right picture, on the picture of the right. Because of the high digitalization in these glass houses, also meant that the manual fallback options have fallen away. So it's not the picture on the left, like the old school way of agriculture, horticulture is no longer possible. But it also means that the risks are very high because the digitalization level is really high. The awareness for security is very low, and that brings enormous risks with it, of course, when it comes to more also business continuity. That by itself, and also the connections within the supply chain. So also these larger organizations are reliant on within their supply chain on all these smaller organizations. So attention for security within the supply chain is key. So what are we going to offer from the Cyber Resilience Center? Well, first of all, we're going to also offer an ISAC, Information Sharing and Analysis Center. So what we do is that we offer the more mature organizations. So we also have a couple of these more mature organizations, the opportunity to have a discussion with each other, to discuss cases that they've run into, and also on their level do peer-to-peer review on cybersecurity. The way that we're hoping to approach it was, so we still need to set this up, but we are aiming to approach this by also connecting the main IT providers to this group, because they're on the same level, and with them they can learn from these top organizations, also from these peer reviews, and also by then adding those thoughts and also adding those best practices within their IT systems, and also technology that they provide to all these small companies in the sector. It's a great way of also utilizing the more expert review for the sector as a whole. And just to give you a bit of an understanding of why we're doing this is because the main IT, the horticulture sector, like maybe 5 or 6 IT technology providers provide 90% of technology within the sector. So with this we can make a whole, we hope to make a strong impact there. Final one is that we are going to provide threat intel, and I'm not sure what the situation in Canada is, but in the Netherlands, the critical infrastructures are being serviced by the National Cybersecurity Center here, also when it comes to threat intel, but the non-critical sectors are not being serviced, so they do not receive up-to-date threat intel, which these critical infrastructures do. What we've done is that we've been able to technically, also together with another organization, make a connection that we can receive this threat intel. So we make this threat intel that normally is only for the critical infrastructures, we make it available for this sector, which is of course a very, for us, this is one of the key selling points also more for the larger organizations that are very much looking at this. But if you have technical threat intel, it often means that like a lot of people, a lot of these companies won't be able to understand this. So we have the person in place who's also going to translate this technical information towards more practical information and guidelines on what to do. So in that way, we as a Cyber Resilience Center can also make a true difference there. So that is sort of overall what the Cyber Resilience Center does and what we offer. So we have recently opened, so we're still learning a lot. But these are already some of the key learnings that we did in the process. And then again, I started off also because of the connection between Canada and the Netherlands, and also UMB and my organization, Security Delta, we've been connected within a global organization which is called Global EPIC, which is a international collaboration between 36 cybersecurity ecosystems. And so these come from Northern America to all over Europe, to Kenya, to Japan, Taiwan, Australia, New Zealand, all over the world. We are sharing best practices, sharing our knowledge and expertise, and it's a great way of learning. And to also add to that, like we've also have a business exchange program with that. So we quite often have Canadian companies coming to the Netherlands to also showcase their expertise and their knowledge, and hopefully then also set up shop in the Netherlands. And that is what we help them with, also with our soft landing program, which we run through Global EPIC. So again, that is my best practice that I wanted to share with you. And very much also interested in learning more about like the Canadian best practices, and then if anything comes close to what we are doing, or if you've maybe found a completely different way of doing things. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Bert, for the brilliant presentation. We appreciate the time, and I think your lecture, your talk is very clear as well. We just have one question for you, and it reads, you talked about threat intelligence. Do you provide any support beyond, passing on the threat intelligence to the organizations you mentioned? So, because what if the question is more or less, what if you provide those companies with the threat intel and they don't have the capacity to act on it? I guess that would depend on the size of the company and their capacity as well. So yeah. I don't offer any.
Yeah, very good question. And I think it depends a bit on the maturity of the organization. So the larger organizations, they are more than capable of handling this also very technical threat intel. But what you see is that many organizations are, of course, not that mature. And so the first thing that we do is we first of all translate the information that is, of course, relevant to them. We also filter out what is relevant to them. But then, of course, they in many cases still won't be able to act on it. And then, of course, it also adds to more of the broader scope that we have, is helping these organizations also setting up the procedures within their organization to handle cybersecurity. So it could, for example, be that they set up the right connection with their IT provider, for example, that when they receive something like this, that they can connect with, that they can reach out to their IT provider and that they can take care of it. But like there's not a 100% solution for this. So one thing that we are not going to do is we're not going to be the 911 for cybersecurity, for example. So I'm not sitting there behind my desk at 2 a.m. on a Saturday night for them to respond to any cyber breaches. So that is also what we've made clear from the start. But what we do offer is we do offer, for example, a list of telephone numbers of organizations they could call. But already providing this list, also checking that the right organizations are on this list, that's already a great service that we can provide to them to make it easier for them.
All right, I think that's all the question that we have for today. We would like to thank you very much for taking the time to be with us and sharing about the great work that you're doing and about your experience in the Netherlands, and also the partnership that you have with Canadian organizations, including the CIC, the Global EPIC, which CIC is a member of. We appreciate everything, and thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.
You too. Thank you very much.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.